Alrighty, well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Ellie Moore. I'm Vice President of Community Impact and Outreach here at the Community Foundation. Really excited to walk you through this year's impact grants, but a little housekeeping kind of before we begin. So in the chat, if you wouldn't mind adding your name, the organization that you're representing, and then if for fun, you can add one word to describe your work. That would be great to let us know kind of who's on the call. Appreciate that. And then I know we're all quite familiar with Zoom these days, but please do stay muted unless you are asking a question. Feel free to interrupt in the middle. I am a-okay with questions coming off mute and asking whatever you want as we go along. You're also welcome to use the chat function, but just so you know, I am riding solo facilitating today, so I will try to keep an eye on that. But if I miss that, if someone wants to look those up for me, that would be great. And then it's usually helpful to have your view set to speaker just to be a little less distracted, but I think most folks are staying off of video today anyway, so that should be good to go. All right, I see lots of chats coming in. Thank you for introducing yourselves. Appreciate that. Lots of good words. Power is a good word. Fun's always good in our work. Exploration's a great word. Lovely. Thank you all for the intros. Feel free to keep adding those in as we go here. But I'm just going to kick us off and keep us moving. So apologies in advance for, hopefully you can't hear my fan. Our office AC is out this week, so we've got a series of fans running. So please do let me know in the chat if my fan gets too loud or I'm talking too quietly. We can turn that off for sure. Alrighty, so let's begin. An overview of kind of what we're going to chat about today. We will walk through our grant making strategy as a whole at the Community Foundation, kind of what that looks like as far as our approach. We have kind of a three-prong approach to grant making. Then we'll really dive into kind of what you're here for, our community impact grants themselves, the purpose of those grants, what makes someone eligible to receive that award, process and timeline for our grant cycle, and some resources for you, as well as a quick walkthrough of our grants portal itself. And of course, we'll have time at the end for Q&A as well. Additionally, this is being recorded, so it will be on our website as soon as we can get that out by the end of the week for sure, so you can refer back, send folks who might not be able to be on the call but are maybe writing the grant for you this information as well. So we will start with our strategy overall. The Community Foundation really is leaning into our role as a community-wide funder. We're attempting to apply best practices in grant making as best we can, which you've seen us shift kind of the way that we grant make over the past few years. So this is our third impact grant cycle, our third year doing it kind of this way with the two separate discretionary grant cycles. So impact grant making is really built to kind of move the needle on projects. We recognize it's still only $25,000, which is not necessarily a systems change amount of money, but we are hopeful that this is a big impact, kind of a larger grant for your organization to be able to move these big projects along and make a big impact for you and your organization. We are, however, still committed to providing operational support. So that's happening through our capacity grants in the spring. We know how important that type of support is and how rare it is to find funders who are willing to support some of those less fun projects, maybe. So that's what that spring capacity building grant cycle is for. We want to make sure we're still continuing to provide that operational support as well. So what that looks like, we have kind of three ways that you can receive grant support through the Community Foundation. The first is our fall impact grants. That's what you're here for today. That cycle typically runs from July to October. This year we have 5 $25,000 grant awards, and the awards are in the program and capital campaign support area. So we'll dive into those really in depth this afternoon. We do also have a capacity building grant cycle in the spring. Those grants run from February to May. They're a little smaller. They're 250 to 2,500. And those are in operational support. Really, there's kind of some areas that we try to define to make it a little easier for our grant reviewers to review apples to apples in that application, but they are operational capacity building support grants in the spring. And then we have our giving catalog. The giving catalog is not a competitive application. There is no kind of true application process, community review, none of that piece. Really, it's an online giving tool for our donors for us to be able to put nonprofit requests, current needs, programs for support specific needs up for our donors to be able to access and hopefully fund through their individual funds, whether that's through us or simply just kind of as a pass through for their donations. So those are our three kind of ways to receive grant support through the Community Foundation. But you might notice that does not encapsulate all of the grant making that we're doing here at the Community Foundation. So typically we have about $2.5 to $3 million of grant making support happening outside of those three cycles. That is happening through our donor advised funds. So the bulk of our grant making is really happening through our donor advised funds. Those are donor directed grants, non-competitive. There's no application cycles for those dollars. They can look a lot of different ways. They can be program support, they can be operating support, they might be restricted in some ways, they might be unrestricted, and they might also already be designated for a specific organization or cause and annually distributed that way. I do want to note our nonprofits do not have access to directly communicate with those DAF fund holders. We don't have a tool for doing that. The way that we share your requests and your needs with our donors directly is through that giving catalog. So it's important to have a request up on that catalog. If you have questions about the catalog or how to get a request up, make sure you follow our e-newsletter. It's in there almost every month. But there's just a quick form to fill out to get your request added to that. So just wanted to note that that's kind of the difference between when you hear our big, the Community Foundation granted $4 million this year, but don't see that happening through our competitive cycles. That's where those grants are happening. Additionally, we have some other competitive grant cycles that are going on throughout the year. So wanted to make sure I mentioned those. In the spring, we have two community funds who do grant making, Coralville Community Fund and Swisher Community Fund. Those are specific grant cycles for programs and projects happening in those two communities. We have Langhorne Leadership Grants that also happen in the spring. Those are both for professional development for nonprofit staff specifically, but also programs that are enhancing leadership across the community in general. So take a peek at those. Last year's information for both of those grant cycles are still out on the website, so you can take a peek at that. Nothing should change a whole lot for either of those types of cycles. So take a peek at that and get those on your calendar as just to know that they're coming in the spring. And then we do have the Cauldron Fund for Seniors, which this year will look a little bit different because 522 for Good, our learning and giving circle here in the community, has a focus area each year for their grant making. And this year's grant making for them is support for services for older adults, which is a perfect alignment and perfect fit with our Cauldron Fund for Seniors grant making dollars. So rather than host two cycles and make you all apply for the same program twice, what we're going to do is we will send our Cauldron Fund dollars to 522 for Good, so that community will be making the decisions on where those dollars go. So we're excited about that because that means one less application for you all, which is great, but also that we get to use that 522 for Good group to have community voice in that decision making for those funds as well. So that will be lovely. We will dive in a little bit deeper on the 522 for Good apps at the end of our call today because those are open right now as well. So I will give you a little more information about those here after we talk about impact grants too. So know that is coming, but we are ready to dive in for today's main topic. So our community impact grants are really built to support major projects that are increasing quality of life across Johnson County. That we know is very broad. It's intended to be broad. We have 5 $25,000 grant awards, as I mentioned before. And to be eligible for those awards, you must be a 501c3 nonprofit organization or have a fiscal sponsor, be located in and significantly serving Johnson County. And we will be looking at program support and capital campaign support specifically, not operational support requests for this cycle. If you have questions on whether or not you are a 501c3 org, what fiscal sponsorship looks like, If you're significantly serving or not in the county, please let me know. Feel free to send me an email after the call, and we can work through that, or give me a call. That is just fine. I do also want to make sure that I highlight there is a full grant guidelines doc. I'll show you in a bit where to find that. That has a detailed listing of our preferred funding areas for this grant. We're working to be as transparent as we can about the priority areas for these applications, so you're able to make sure your request fits before you spend the time applying. So please note that that exists and take a peek at that before you start your application. But I am going to go over our kind of main areas of funding. So we have this kind of general priority areas that we'll walk through here in a second. But on that guideline sheet is also by interest area. So arts and culture, environment, kind of by what type of org you are. There's specific preferred and not preferred priority areas listed out as well. So make sure you take a peek at that. That's helpful. In general, we are looking for equity-centered strategies and programs. We're looking for collaboration amongst organizations. That does not necessarily mean only between nonprofits. Public-private partnership is great. We're happy to look at those types of requests as well. Leveraging our grant award to be able to obtain other funding, using it as kind of a capital stack. We're very happy to support that piece. And if you are awarded one of our impact grants, we're also happy to write letters of support for other funding opportunities that you may have. Infrastructure requests. So capital campaigns are allowed under this grant cycle. We're specifically looking for capital campaigns that are going to significantly increase your organization's capacity. So take a peek at that. And then quality of life, of course, new and collaborative programs are always exciting, but really just looking for programs that are significantly increasing quality of life for our residents here in the county. And then transformational, so programs working at systems change level to kind of move the needle on an issue. I do want to note, these are priority areas for funding. They are not a list of things you have to check off. So your request does not have to fit in all of these kind of areas. They are not required. So if your grant does not have an opportunity to leverage additional funds, or your grant budget is the 25 and there's nothing else you need, don't worry about that. That's not a kind of, you don't have to stop applying just because it doesn't hit one of these areas. These are just areas that we're specifically prioritizing and looking for in these requests. So our timeline for the cycle this year, our apps will open next Wednesday, so a week from today on July 15th. They will close on August 17th, so you have a good 6 weeks to look at the applications, get those submitted. And then we have evaluations happening between August and September. We do utilize a community review team, so we have folks from the community providing the decision making for these grants, which is really lovely. We're hopeful that it gives us lots of good experiences and background to make sure that we're funding across all different types of areas and making sure we hit the true community needs. So that's great. So that evaluation will be happening August, September, and then we will have our grant celebration and awards on October 29th. You can save that date, that is confirmed. So that late afternoon, evening will be our grant celebration. It will be at Centennial Park in North Liberty again this year. So where to find information about these grants is important. On our website homepage, there's this big slider across the top. That Learn More button is going to take you to our grants page, or always across the top, the slider kind of changes. Always across the top in our menu is this grant making button. That will have a drop down menu where there's different pages for each of the grant cycles. So there's a drop down for fall impact grants right at the top, and then 5224 good grants. I want to make sure we note are also there so you can see the details for those grants as well. Those are the only two that are currently open. Well, these ones open next week, but the information's out there for you. They're the only two this fall. So take a peek at those. You can always find that information on our website under that grant making tab. When you go into that grant making tab, hit the Fall Impact Grants button. It will lead you to a page that has this information here on the left. There's a little bit of kind of purpose and eligibility pieces before this. So scroll a little bit and you'll find this guidelines section. This button will lead you to that full document with all of the preferred priority areas, eligibility requirements, things we won't fund, that type of information. is all listed out for you there in the grant guidelines. So make sure you take a peek at that. That's kind of the most important document we have around the grant cycle. We do also already have the application in a pre-read format for you. So you can look at the questions as they are out there right now, be able to kind of prep some of your answers and maybe see if this feels like a good fit for your org or not before you do the work of logging in and finding your password and all of those pieces. So that is already out there on the webpage as well. And then to apply, the button to apply is here. So make sure that when you're ready to go, you just hit right there and you will go to the grants portal login page. Additionally, you can get to the grants portal login page at any time. Under the grant making tab, there's a grants portal page. That page has a bunch of resources, information, troubleshooting on the portal itself, but also has the login to the link. So this is one place to find your actual application login, or on the actual Fall Impact Grants page or 522 for Good Grants page, the apply button will get you there as well. One place that will not get you there, that is sometimes confusing, is this My Fund login button. So always across the top of our menu on our website, there's this My Fund login. That is not our grants portal. That's a specific donor portal for our fund holders. So if you try to log in through that button, it will not get you anywhere. Make sure that you're using either this grants portal page or the apply button. Does that all feel good? Make sense? Okay. That's our usual first troubleshooting. So want to make sure we touch on that. Some FAQs about this specific grant cycle, and we will go back to the grants portal here in just a moment and walk through some of that. But for this grant cycle specifically, there is one application allowable per organization. So you are able to apply for one project for your organization. You can still apply for capacity building grants, 522 for Goods grants, any of our other cycles. We just have you do one per cycle. So that's kind of a note. Additionally, if you received a 2025 Fall Impact Grant, so that would have been this past October, we are asking that you not apply this year. You will be eligible again in 2027 because of kind of how large these grants are. We try to have folks take a year off in between so that those folks who received a grant last year, wait on this one, you'll be able to apply again in 2027. However, you are still able to apply for 522 for Goods grant, Spring Capacity, Leadership, any of the other cycles, that is just fine. Only the impact grants are the kind of piece there that will have you take a year off. We do, like I said, have community reviewers making grant recommendations. We are very proud of that process and appreciate those folks a lot. They're volunteering their time to do that. So excited about that piece. You are eligible to apply if you are a United Way partner. We get that question sometimes. There is a question on the app that has you indicate that. So please do that, but you are welcome to apply. And then we have updated our kind of rules around AI. So just to let you know, we are A-okay with you using AI tools to write your applications. Whatever makes this more efficient and easier for you all is just great. Please use the tools according to your own organization's policies and practices, but we are just fine with AI use as far as writing the applications go. I do want to make sure we know, read through those if you're using AI tools, make sure they're accurate before you submit. We have seen in other organizations some folks submitting things with numbers that maybe weren't quite right, and they didn't get that corrected quite in time. So make sure you take a peek at those. You are still signing off that everything is accurate. So just take an extra peek if you use AI, but feel free to use whatever tools make it a little easier for you. We are just fine with that. I should note also on the use of AI, we will not be allowing reviewers to use AI. So just know that as well. All of our review is going to be truly person making evaluation on their own. So note that just as we kind of move into this new space, that's kind of where we're at currently. So resources for you all. Our website, of course, is kind of the main place to go. There's lots of information about the guidelines, the process, the timeline, Your actual application link is there, all of those pieces, and some system tutorials as well. If you are not on our e-newsletter list, please add yourself to that at the bottom of our webpage. There is a way to do that. That has lots of announcements, reminders, all of the pieces. So take a peek at that. Follow us on Facebook. Application links and announcements are always there as well. And then, of course, feel free to reach out to our staff at any time with any questions that you might have. Okay, we are going to go through a quick Grants Portal walkthrough, kind of overview of the main pieces. So if you're quite familiar with our portal already, feel free to zone out for a couple minutes, but we will have you come back in just a few. So when you go to our Grants Portal login page, it should look like this. If it does not, you're probably on the donor side. So back out, make sure you're on the Grants Portal, but it will look something like this. If your organization already has an account and you're trying to log in under a new one, it will likely stop you. So it's all based on the EIN that you're using. If you're not sure, don't create a new account. Please reach out to me. We can do that on the back end. But we want to make sure each organization has only one account. You can have multiple users under that account, but we like to keep all of the applications for one org in one place so you all can see that in one place as well. So if you know your login, great, go ahead and put that in. If you're not sure if you have an account, reach out, let me know. If you know that you do not, feel free to click that create new account button. It will look something like this. Pretty simple, just enter your information. Any required information will have a little asterisk, so it'll make you do that before you move on. And it'll have you hit next. The thing that's most important here is when you're creating your user account, to make sure that that email address is one that you're frequently checking and using. All of the grant notification information, any reminders, report reminders will come to that email address. So make sure that your user email is one that you actually use and see. And you can make sure that that's happening by confirming your email. So when you set up your account the first time, it will ask, do you want to confirm your email? And it'll send you a little test to make sure that you've got that. And also it kind of gives you some information about removing things from spam if it happens to go there. So make sure that you do confirm that email. Again, if you need a new user account, but know that your org has an account, just shoot me a quick email. We can get that set up for you. That way you also have access to the older historical requests as well. So our dashboard for our grants portal has changed. And I apologize, they have not given us a lot of new tutorial information yet. So we're going to use this quick screen grab that I have. But I'm hopeful to have a full kind of just grants tutorial on the system itself for you here kind of at the end of the fall, once I have a little more information from the system itself from our software company. But when you log in, it should look something like this. So you'll be able to see kind of what's been assigned to you over here. You can see on your dashboard where you're at with different requests. So you might see there's action needed. Oh, this application didn't get submitted. This one is also past due. There might be a document attached that you need to take a peek at. These are things that have been submitted or approved already, so there's no action needed from you. And then your historical older requests will be there as well. So always when you log in, there should be a little home button up here. That will always lead you back to your dashboard, your specific user account information. So that's really helpful, always just to know that that exists. You can always come back to this dashboard and see where you're at with things. It also will show you whether or not you've submitted. So once you've submitted, the application will move from this first bucket into the no action bucket and tell you when you submitted. So that's helpful just to notice. If you think you submitted, you can go in and check and know for sure that it's been submitted. But looking for new applications, a new opportunity that you might not have started yet, will happen under this apply button. So if you go there, there will be a really similar dashboard that has the list of what's currently open as far as requests, and you can hit, so it won't show this past due, it'll show the new application. So it'll say fall community impact grant cycle. And there will be an application button here. You can click on that to start your application. So this is not a perfect example, I'm sorry, but hopefully shows you what it will look like to start that application. And once you've started that application, it will show here always on your dashboard with an edit button to be able to continue editing that application. The application itself looks very similar to how it always has. So it looks just like this. Um, Pretty self-explanatory. There's kind of the boxes to fill in what you need to fill in. Again, you can see what the questions are already on our pre-read app on the website. So take a peek at that. Anything with this asterisk is a required question. It will not let you submit unless you have all of those required questions completed. So just know that if it's not letting you submit, you're probably missing one box somewhere. So take a peek at that. But those are pretty self-explanatory. Fill in what needs filled in. But I do also want to make sure you see there, you can download both the question list, which is just the questions themselves, and the application packet. So both of these download as PDFs for you. But once you have everything submitted, if you'd like to keep a copy without having to log in and out of the grants portal, you can do that by downloading an application packet. This application packet includes all of your responses, all of the questions, all of your responses, and any documents that you might have uploaded. So that's kind of your final, I want to save a copy of this version whenever you want to do that as well. And then at the bottom, there are two options, save application and submit application. So save application, it's just what it sounds like. It'll save it. You can go back in, keep editing, go back and forth. Once you hit the submit button, it is no longer editable for you on your side. It will send directly to our side for the reviewers to see. So make sure that you are just saving until you're for sure ready to submit. But don't forget to hit that submit button before the deadline. Make sure you hit that button, and that on your dashboard then will move that request to the no action needed kind of bucket. So that is really our only grants portal information. There's lots of tutorial information on the website for you. So make sure you take a peek at that. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. We can walk through things. And again, as soon as I have more information from the system itself on some training materials, we'll get that out as well. Okay, that is pretty much it for community impact grant specific. So I want to go over just a couple more things, some upcoming things we have for you, and then we'll open it up to questions. So the other application that is currently open, and this is like truly open right now, you can go in and submit your application right now, is our 5224 Good grants. So 5224 Good is our learning and giving circle here in the community. They are focusing their grant making this year on services for older adults. These requests will be up to $12,000 this year, and they are program or project specific. The application closes on July 21st, so a couple weeks yet. They close at midnight, and decisions will be made in October with the awards happening in December. So take a peek at those if you're working in that space for older adults. They are happy to read your requests and make some grants this fall. Upcoming events I want to make sure you are aware of. So we have a celebration of service happy hour happening August 12th from 4 to 6 at Big Grove. We hope to see you there. We'll provide some light refreshments. We've got the Soft and Low, which is a local band. They'll be playing some live music for us. And we will do kind of brief remarks at 4:30. So that is just a open house style. Come whenever you want. We're hopeful for a really great weather day so we can have the garage doors open at Big Grove and be in and outside. But please do swing by. We really just want to say thank you for all the work that you do. We really appreciate it. So happy to host you at Big Grove for an afternoon. We also have an event coming up August 20th, which is our nonprofit book club. So we're actually doing a Meet the Author event this time. We're really excited. You do not have to have read the book necessarily. You do not have to have been part of the book club before. It is open to any and all. But Lois Bunce, who is really out of Cedar Rapids, but in the ICR in general, has written a book called Generosity and Gender. It has been big in the field for a number of years. And so we're excited we'll be reading that book, having a discussion, and she will be at that event with us. So location is TBD, still working on that piece, but it will be August 20th at 10 a.m. and Lois will be there with us, which is really exciting. So please feel free to come to that. Again, if you haven't read the book or haven't finished the book, that's just fine. Feel free to show up and learn with us anyway. And then our last kind of event coming up I want to make sure you're aware of is September 22nd. So we're excited to be partnering with Iowa City's Climate Fest. We hold community conversations, typically about 4 a year, around specific issue areas. And we'll be focusing this conversation on climate, on building a climate-ready future. So we have a panel of local experts who have been working in the climate space who are going to be sharing their work, sharing kind of things you can all be doing to help have a climate-ready future. So that is going to be part of Iowa City's Climate Fest this fall, and we're hopeful that you'll be able to join us at the Englert Theater on the 22nd for that piece. More out on that soon. And then, of course, save the date for our grant celebration. So that's October 29th, again at Centennial Park. That will be where we give out these Community Impact Awards, but also celebrate our lovely donors, celebrate our Legacy Society folks, and really just the work of the Community Foundation from the past year. So we're hopeful that you'll join us at that event in the fall. Okay, I'm going to take a break for a minute, stop my screen share here, and open it up to any questions you might have.
Ellie, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you have any examples from previous years in terms of what
Yeah,
kind
hi
of
Colleen. This is
impact?
Kathy Selek. I have a class scheduled for 3:30 today, but I
All right, I'm sorry. You were asking if we have historic grants?
Do you have any examples of previous years? Like what kind of community impact?
Yes, for sure. Let me see if I can grab our link to those. So I'm going to send you, it looks like our fall grants from 2025 are not listed quite yet.
Or in even more previous years that
we
you
just
went?
had those due. So let me grab our previous. We sure do though. And we also have, sorry, as I find this link for you, we do also have social posts coming out around our just last year's. So we're excited about that. We just got the reports. They were due June 30th. So we're turning those around quick, but those will be out kind of during the cycle as well. So you can see some more information about previous projects and where they're currently at. But I do have last time's listed here.
Where will I see those when they come out?
That'll be on our Facebook page and also in our e-newsletter. So make sure you're
Okay.
following all of those pieces.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Any other? Okay, here is the link to that. And I am happy to chat offline with anybody as far as your specific application. If it feels like, I'm not sure if this is a good fit, let me know. I'm happy to do that. I'm also happy to read through applications, barring time limits. But if you get it to me soon enough, I'm happy to read through applications as well to be able to
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be clear, I am not a reviewer. I do not score the applications, so I can provide provide feedback without that. Any other questions about community impact grants, 522 for Good grants? Anything upcoming? All right, hearing none, we'll give you some time back in your day, which is exciting. But do feel free to reach out to me if you have any additional questions, anything lingering, something specific for your application. Happy to talk through any of those pieces. All right, thanks all. Have a lovely afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Ellie.